98% of the criminals arrested in Jackson have been behind bars before. That's according to Jackson Police Chief Lee Vance. Many are released on what some consider a low bond amount. But why? So I went to the top judge who issues some of those bonds to get answers.
Bond was never meant to keep people in jail. It was meant to assure that if they were indicted, they would appear for trial. That's not how the public sees it, though.
No, because we've seen murder suspects, they're given $100,000 bonds, some of them sometimes even lower, and they're murder suspects. And so a lot of times—
You said a key word. They are murder suspects, but they are not convicted.
It's something we've seen time after time. Murder suspects given bonds, like Alicia Perkins. She's accused of killing a man inside a store after an argument. She was given a $150,000 bond, which means she only had to come up with $15,000 and put on house arrest by Judge Tommy Green.
Why not, though, send the message of we are going to hold these people accountable for what they are accused of committing?
It's not our job to send messages to the community. It's our job to make sure that the Constitution is followed.
For years, there's been criticism from law enforcement when it comes to the Hinds County justice system.
I can't speak to why these bonds are so low, especially as it relates to a murder charge. We have in law enforcement absolutely no power over these judges. Their thought process in releasing these individuals, really, I don't have a clue.
Jackson Police Chief Lee Vance is talking about Lauren Shell Blackwell. Back in October, she was released on a $1,000 bond and sentenced to house arrest. She was pregnant at the time and a capital murder suspect in the death of Lee Kendrick from Pearl. Blackwell went back to jail after giving birth. As
judges, we have to hold the DA and the police officers accountable to make sure that we don't hold the person in jail an unreasonable amount of time and they get a fair, just, and speedy trial.
Is there some type of responsibility felt, though, from the judge, say if you do give a murder suspect a bond, they bond out, and that murder suspect commits another crime?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think every judge's greatest fear is that they will set a bond that they believe under the law is reasonable and that the individual will make the bond and get back out and start to doing some other things that's dangerous to the public. So therefore, we often have bond hearings to determine the public safety risk of that individual. There are certain factors to be considered in the setting of bond. Not the fact that the person has committed the crime alone, but whether that person is within the community, has a job, doesn't have a job, has no priors, has some prior charges pending, whether they were convicted on the prior charges.
Throughout her career and hundreds of cases before her, Judge Green says she's narrowed it down to some of the biggest problems when it comes to crime in the county.
Crime is directly related to education or lack thereof. I can't tell you the number of times I have defendants who stand in my courtroom and we have a litany of questions we have to ask them. And one of them is, how far did you go in school? And I guarantee you it's usually about 8th or 9th grade for about 80% of the defendants that come in, whether they're males or females.
Is there a bit of sympathy that comes with this?
The judges can't have sympathy. They only can apply the law. We don't decide facts, juries do. We only apply the law in sentencing should the jury find the defendant guilty. If the jury finds that the individual's not guilty, then they leave the courtroom even if the police has arrested him for murder, because it may or may not, under the law, be murder.
Judge Green says in the end, 90% of those suspects plead guilty to those charges. Only about 10% are actually tried before a jury.